Oh, listen, don't play that game with me. We're talking here about energy production. Oil and natural gas are energy production. And the facts of the matter are this president has reduced our ability to be energy independent.
Thank you, Senator Hawley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks to the witnesses for being here. Assistant Secretary Light, if I could just start with you. In the years leading up to Russia's invasion of Ukraine, almost a year old now, many European governments prioritized what they called the climate objectives. I'm not sure that their policies actually improve their environment, but that was their surmise, climate objectives over energy abundance. And in particular, they prioritized cheap energy from an authoritarian regime over energy independence. Do you think that that playbook executed by governments in Europe is something we ought to be doing in the United States?
I think that the clear lesson is that no country should be beholden to one supplier for its energy sources or a very large proportion of its energy sources, and that energy security is built on energy diversification. I think that energy diversification is at the backbone of U.S. energy policy, and so I don't see any risk that the United States will follow suit in that respect.
Well, you say energy security is built on energy diversification. I would have thought energy security would be based on energy independence. Am I wrong about that?
I think it's independence, but I also think that it's not just one source of energy, because things can go wrong. No one should put all of their chips right on sort of one marker when it comes to energy security. So I think to have as diverse a supply as possible while still looking at other goals like climate goals is a very good path forward for countries to take, and it's something that the United States wants to support other countries in helping to do.
Well, why wouldn't we put our chips on American energy? And we've got various sources of energy in this country. Why wouldn't we put our chips there?
I think we are putting our chips on.
No, we're not. We're producing less oil and gas in this country than we were previously. The president, when he came to office, his first day in office, he imposed a moratorium on oil and gas leases on federal land. Since then, he has leased the fewest acres of federal land for oil and natural gas since the Truman administration. Why are we shutting down American oil and natural gas production, taking away American jobs, and making ourselves more dependent on foreign sources of energy? I don't understand this policy.
Well, the U.S. will produce a record amount of both crude oil and natural gas in 2023, even higher than the spikes pre-COVID levels. And the president is actively encouraging U.S. oil producers to increase production and reinvest their profits back into production rather than buying back stocks. And I think that's the right policy to pursue.
He's doing that while he is shutting down the ability to lease federal land for oil and natural gas, the fewest acres of federal land leased since the Truman administration. He's boasted about how he hopes that he just said in the State of the Union that we may not need American oil after another 10 years. I mean, what kind of a message does that send? Is that energy security?
So any questions about leasing on federal land, I would direct to the Department of Interior, not the Department of Energy, sir.
Oh, listen, don't play that game with me. We're talking here about energy production. Oil and natural gas are energy production. And the facts of the matter are this president has reduced our ability to be energy independent. And you're sitting here telling me that that increases our energy security. It looks just the opposite to me. It seems to me that you're recommending the European playbook, which left them dependent on foreign nations, left them dependent ultimately on hostile actors, and that's what you're trying to replicate here again in the United States. I just don't understand why this course of action is being recommended, why your administration's pursuing it. I also don't understand why you would shut down pipelines that cancel thousands of good-paying American energy jobs. I mean, why is that a healthy energy policy for this country?
With all due respect, sir, I really don't see much of a comparison between where Europe was before the outbreak of the war and their energy mix and where they were getting energy from and where the United States is today.
Well, let me just ask you, on the topic of dependence on authoritarian regimes, about China. China is one of the largest processors of the materials that serve as the building blocks for many of the so-called green energy transition that the administration is pursuing. According to the IEA, China processes 40% of the world's copper, more than 30% of the nickel in the world, 60% of cobalt, 60% of lithium, and more than 80% of rare earth minerals. Now, in light of that, many commentators have suggested that the United States is even more dependent on China for key components of solar power, panels, wind turbines, and batteries than Europe was on Russia in the lead up to the invasion of Ukraine. So I say again, in light of all of that, don't you think that this administration's climate agenda is making us more dependent on China while we lessen our reliance on our own domestic energy sources?
Well, sir, as I said in my testimony before, I think you're absolutely right. China does own too much of the critical minerals supply chain from ownership of resources, through processing, and through the creation of modules and other sort of parts of clean energy components.
So why would you want to make us more dependent on them?
The tools that the Congress has given us, sir, to make sure that we diversify the supply chains, reshore as many of them, and create sound relationships with non-Chinese suppliers. That is absolutely a top priority of this administration.
For heaven's sake, here's what you've done. You came to office. You took us from being an energy independent nation to being an energy dependent nation. You have made us more dependent. Now this administration's gone begging to OPEC and dictators all around the world. You have made us less energy secure. Now you're making us energy dependent on China. You're canceling good paying American jobs. It's a disaster, and all the while increasing the cost of energy across this nation. It is an absolute disaster, and I can't imagine why, in light of what happened in Ukraine, we would want to replicate those disastrous policies here. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Turk, you're familiar with the Manhattan Project, I assume.
I am.
Are you familiar with the effects of the Manhattan Project's radioactive waste on school children in Missouri?
I'm familiar with not only school children in Missouri, but we've got projects all across our country. We've got an environmental management program, about $8 billion a year, that works on those efforts.
Great. Well, let's talk about Missouri, if we could. In the Hazelwood School District in the St. Louis area, I hope that you're aware that radioactive material has been found in Coldwater Creek, which runs right near Jana Elementary School. Are you familiar with this?
I am. I've had several conversations with our team on this.
Good. Well, you'll be aware then that radioactive material has been found within 600 feet of Jana Elementary School. Coldwater Creek has long been a site designated with radioactive waste and material. Again, it goes through the school district. There are multiple schools in the Hazelwood School District. There was private testing done in Jana Elementary itself, in the school building itself, paid for by private parties, that found radioactive material in the building. On the basis of this, the Jana Elementary School is now closed. The school board took the very difficult decision of having to close that school. Those students have been sent home. They're now distance learning, which, as we've learned through COVID, is really not much learning at all. You've got working parents who now have kids at home, not able to learn, all closed down. I have asked the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers to do additional testing on Jana Elementary. They have refused. The school district has asked them to do additional testing. They have refused. The school district has now written to your department asking DOE to authorize testing of Jana Elementary and every other school in the Hazelwood School District. Have you seen their letter, or they sent it to you a week ago?
So I have seen their letter. We've talked about it and eager to work with you and your staff on this.
Okay, does that mean you'll be doing the testing?
So we've had conversations, including with the Army Corps, and I don't particularly understand where the Army Corps is coming from.
Neither do I.
And so we're having conversations with them in terms of the jurisdictional nature of it. But happy to have conversations, happy to do right by citizens in Missouri and elsewhere when we deal with the Manhattan Project implications.
Well, with all due respect, I'm not particularly interested in the conversations. I'm interested in getting a result here. These parents have been waiting for years, frankly, years, to get some cleanup done. I don't think it's too much to ask that this school district, and beginning with Jana Elementary, but the entire school district, get proper cleanup done and these kids be able to go to school in a place that doesn't have radioactive waste within 600 feet of their school or maybe in the building itself. So what the school district has asked you to do is to authorize testing immediately at the Jana Elementary site and every other school building in the Hazelwood School District. They're not asking the Army Corps for that. We've already tried that. They're asking you. They're asking DOE. So my question to you is, will you authorize it?
So happy to work with you on that, Senator. I need to talk to the team and understand the particulars of what's involved there. I don't understand right now the particular intricacies of jurisdiction from the Army Corps and what our involvement is. We need to have the statutory and ability to get involved in cases along these lines. So I just need to talk to the team, but happy to work urgently on it.
What does that mean, you need to have the statutory ability? Unlock that for me.
So the way it's been described to me is the Army Corps has been the principal government agency that's been involved here, relevant here as far as these issues go. I just don't know what our involvement is from the DOE side of things. What is our particular jurisdictional hook? What is our ability to help in this particular situation? So that's what I need to go back to our team and get an answer for you.
Well, let me tell you how this sounds to the parents. How this sounds to the parents is they have for years been asking to have this site cleaned up. Then they're told that there's radioactive waste in a creek that their kids play along, right adjacent to their elementary school playground. Then they're told that another analysis has found radioactive waste in the building. Then they're told that their school will be closed and their kids are sent home. So now the parents are wondering, have the kids been exposed to radioactive material? The kids are now at home, not able to learn. And what they hear from the federal government is, and I've gotten the same runaround, oh, we're not sure, oh, we don't know. The Army Corps says, oh, I'm not sure we have authority to do any testing. You say you don't know what your statutory authorizations are. Can we get some people in a room together and figure this out so that we can get this school tested and get it reopened? And if you're sensing a certain impatience in my voice, it's because I'm very impatient about this.
I'm a parent too and can certainly appreciate and understand.
Well, let's do something about it.
Happy to get in a room, happy to do it with the Army Corps. We got the letter just a few weeks ago. We've already had several conversations about what we can do to help from the DOE side.
Well, if you got it weeks ago, I mean, why is it that you don't have anything for me today?
I need to go back to our team and see where they're at.
Okay,
The last
will you?
conversation I had was about a week and a half ago on
Oh,
that.
for heaven's sake. Well, listen, while we're sitting here talking.
Senator, if I could help you maybe on that, because I just got staff, and Sam has been here longer and seen most of this legislation, and this will not harm your time. But I was told that back when there was another senator, back maybe 20 years or more ago, transferred that authority to the Corps. We'd have to.
That's what I was alluding to.
He's trying to find out. We have to do that here, and we'll do. I agree with you. It should be done. It should be in their hands. He doesn't have the authority right now. I'm understanding that it's still within the Corps' jurisdiction. That's why it's so confusing. That should never have happened.
Yeah, that may be true, Senator, and I appreciate that. It's not so clear to me, actually. It looks like to me there's maybe overlapping authority, but what I'm trying to do here is light a fire.
No, I think,
And I just want, just on behalf of the parents,
Sure.
who I just want them to, they've gotten the runaround for literally years. I just wanted to let the record reflect that as we're sitting here chatting about this, their kids are at home not getting educated. So what I'm asking you to do is figure it out and get me an answer. And if we need to do something legislatively, we're going to do it.
we have to do it. He cannot do that, what you just asked him. We can, and we must, and we should do it as quickly as possible. If you put your staff with Sam Fowler, we'll have it ready for you immediately.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, but I still want an answer from you. As I'd like the school district has a letter into you. I'd like you to answer that. I want to be copied on it, and I'd like to see a response.
We're more than happy to make this a top priority, work with Sam, work with the chairman, work with your staff, Senator, and try to do whatever we can from our end to be helpful. And if there's legislation that's needed, great. Like
We'll fix it.
this is what we do. This is what our environmental management program does.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.